I was talking to one of my friends, and he said that he knew the first time he knew his neighborhood was broke was when the bank closed. It's a pretty good indicator. The bank holds that branch's money, and that branch is falling off. And said he went to the bank, and he basically just straight up asked the teller, he's like, "Hey, do you know why this branch is closing?" And she was like, "Are you here to make a deposit or withdrawal?" And he was like, "Withdrawal." And she was like, "Yeah, that's why. That's it in a nutshell. That's exactly what's happening. You do enough of that, and then there is no bank. We're just kind of a building with a little bit of parking." I don't know. I look back at the ups and downs I've had in my life. I've been broke off and on my entire life, and there's a weird solace sometimes in being broke at the right time. Everyone thinks that the security is in having means and having money, but sometimes not being a part of the circus is its own solace in a weird way. You know that it's bad when you're really shopping at the dollar store. There are things anybody could use at the dollar store. You need a fly swatter, you might as well run up in the dollar store. You know what I mean? You need a dustpan, might as well run up in the dollar store. But if you're really shopping at the dollar store, things are not great. I would go in the dollar store for stuff you shouldn't even be buying from the dollar store. They sell it, but even the cashier look at you like, "You sure?" I'm talking about when you have to get your meat at the dollar store. I knew I was in a bad situation when I went to a dollar store and was looking at that meat in the fridge, and I was like, because the meat at the dollar store, they don't go into specifics. You go to Kroger, Walmart, you go to Target, you go to any of these places, and you'll see the brand of the meat, and then you'll see, all of the little no preservatives ever, completely organic, all the stuff. When you go to the dollar store and you buy your meat, it just says the price and it says meat. And you're like, maybe if I don't ask any questions, it can be whatever I think it is. Because then, I also got a lot of stuff at the dollar store, even as a kid, that I look back and I'm like, that probably wasn't the best. Like a good example, if you know, when you shop at the dollar store, especially if you ever got toys at the dollar store, that dollar store toys are in a very specific, slightly copyright infringed arena of toy. You would have a G.I. Joe, but it doesn't say G.I. Joe. It just says soldier. And you buy the soldier, and it even got the setup like a G.I. Joe, like it stands like a G.I. Joe, but the legs a little too short. So some very long arms. I couldn't tell if the arms were long or the legs were short. And it doesn't have grip action. It says that on the front, grip action. It just has a hole. They didn't make a hand. They made a hole stub. And then this hole stub is what you go ahead and put the little toy gun through. But then they didn't really measure out the gun versus the hand. And so the gun is not in proportion at all. So it looked like this would blow his arm off if he tried to shoot it. But you bring it home and you're playing with it, and you're like, "Yeah, soldier, get him." And he's like, "I'm gonna get him." "Oh, I'm gonna get him. They getting it right now. Trust me. Nah, they getting it. Look. Point me over here. Point me over here." No, it was terrible. It was very bad. It was horrible. You would have those dollar store crayons. That's another one. It's a very specific type of drawing as a kid, because those dollar store crayons, they melt in your hand. So you got to be quick with it. You got some imagination. It needs to come out now. Don't. You got to put those crayons in the fridge. I remember being around some of these Crayola crayon kids being like, your crayon's stale as hell. Y'all don't even freshen up your crayons. That's crazy. That's why your pictures stink. You know what I mean? My pictures smell like leftovers. I remember one of my favorite toys from the dollar store was like a Stretch Armstrong, right? But it was Stretch Arm. It would only stretch for like 3 days. Like you only got 3 good days. After that, it would get hard. And if you tried to stretch it after it got hard, it would cut your finger open. I don't know what it was made of, but it was the most malleable, unmalleable thing. It was Play-Doh and adamantium together. No, it was crazy. And that's the thing too, is when you're growing up in this situation, for anyone who knows what I'm talking about from experience, then you also know that it's very hard to know that you're broke, especially if you're a kid. It's hard to know if you are surrounded by love. My family loved me so much, so much. They still do. I make it sound like that. Make it sound like there was a falling out. They still love me. But no, I was surrounded by love. I had my grandparents, and my mom, and my dad's love. I had my aunt and my uncle's love. I had my cousin's love. I had so much love around me. And when you're surrounded by that much love, you don't know that you don't have money when you have that much love until you meet somebody who has both. That is a curious experience. Like when you're like, oh, you got both parents and a pool? Okay, I think there can be upgrades to life. I see that now. To me, greed is a paradox, because you want everything. Even if you have more than enough, even if you have so much that what you have is starting to hurt you in the long run. You see it with the way that hedge funds cannibalize whole companies. It's like, okay, everybody made some short-term profit, but now this thing that people used to love doesn't exist. You know? Like you take like a Southwest. You know, Southwest, people used to love Southwest. Bags fly free. Affordable tickets. You just sit wherever. You don't have to wait for the person. Southwest used to be so fire, because then you don't have to wait for the person to get to their seat, and you don't have to get up for anybody. Do you know what it's like to just be in your seat on the plane? And everyone's almost here. There's a couple of stragglers. There's almost nobody coming down that aisle anymore. You even settle in. You're like, oh, I may not have a seat next to me. This may be the promised land. You get so comfortable, you're like, man, I might put my other leg over here. Southwest had a brilliant idea. And the bags were flying for free, which makes sense. The bags don't know where they're going. Why should I have to pay for this bag to have an experience too? You know? And then greed, and then private equity, and then hedge funds, and then, shareholder meetings, and then dividends. All the things start to creep in, and it's like, maybe we'll stop doing everything that is why everyone likes us. Maybe we'll just be like the other airlines. They make money, but then you actually look at the people who fly Southwest, and they were like, oh, y'all aren't nice enough to be like them, though. Like, Your seat doesn't even go back like that. Why would I pay for everything here that I pay for over there? That's crazy. And so then you see people plummet because they're making decisions based on money, but not money that they need, just more money that they might be able to get. You know? And there's only there's only so much that a business can grow. I understand a startup's passion, and that passion makes sense because the company just started. But after a while, it's like, do you really need to own everything? If the answer is yes, it's like, and they don't say it to us. They say it to each other. You ever get a hold of a recording of a closed door meeting and the way they talk about their own customers? You know, that's why greed is like a paradox to me. You're so greedy that then you end up cannibalizing your own company, your own efforts, yourself. You end up hurting yourself. American greed is another paradox because as much as we know that the millionaires and billionaires maybe got their money in a way that's a little nasty, we also kind of want to be them a little bit. Everybody wants their piece, but we know how bad it is. You know? There are people who I know who want to be billionaires. They aspire to be billionaires. But if you ask them to name like a good billionaire, it's a hard quiz. But they want to be the billionaire because they're like, no, I will be different. How? You know? That to me is like a drug dealer saying, no, I'm gonna be different. Oh, how so? Oh, I'll only like sell drugs to bad people. How will you know that they're bad people? You know, word will get around and they'll buy my drugs and I'll be like, that's a bad guy. No, it's not going to be different just because it's you. That's the trick as well. No, it's different when I do it. It's different when it's me. It's different when it's for me. It's different when it's for my family. Right? So then you hear people talk about recession. That recession is coming. Recession is looming. And to be fair, people have said that since the last recession. Every year, I'm not an economist, but every year there's somebody that's like, it's coming. Get ready, batten down the hatches. And so you're in this situation where, you know, people are very worried, and understandably so. Because it's not really about the money. Money is mostly like the conduit. Money's mostly the placeholder. There are people who find money to be a game, and for them, the number is the important thing. How much actual money they can stack and hoard is the real thing. I want to show how rich I am is the real thing. But for almost everybody else, it's about their survival. It's about taking care of yourself. It's about taking care of the people that you love. So when they hear that there's going to be a recession, they're not really thinking like, oh, the number will go down. They're thinking about food. They're thinking about housing. They're thinking about resources. You know, and the only way forward is with other people. We've proven that this thing doesn't work. And by this thing, I'm not just talking about like one specific system. I'm not talking about like capitalism. I'm not talking about anything like that. I'm talking about we've proven that a true rat race does not work. I can't believe the world watched Squid Game and was like, yeah, I think I could win the pot. The pot is the problem. You know? And then I think the other problem is that if you are pitted against people, if you're pitted against the other 330 so million Americans, then yeah, the odds look insurmountable. But when you see how many people are actually in your situation, and you see how many millions of people are just like you, and you put yourself on the same side as them, all of a sudden, all of the weight, it gets a little bit easier. You know, there are people around the world that will never have access to the things that we have access to that make it work. And so sometimes we stress, oh, how am I going to make it work? And it's like the number one way is through community. Your future is your neighbor. There's no other way forward. And I know that can be scary. That's an idea where you have to lay down so much trust at the feet of people that you don't know. That's very scary, because I've had good neighbors and I've had bad neighbors. I've had very bad neighbors. I had a neighbor who stole my trash can. It's the trash can. You could just put your trash in there too. Stole my trash can and lived next to me like I'm not gonna notice my trash can. And he was big too, and I'm pretty sure he sold drugs, so I wasn't gonna take my trash can back. But I was like, I will put my trash in my trash can over here though. Just because you stole the trash can doesn't mean I'm gonna get another trash can. It's a trash can, and trash goes in. You could put your trash over here, but then you wanted to put it in front of your yard. Okay, fine, whatever. I'm sure you have a gun, so I won't make a big deal of it. But I've had bad neighbors, and I've also had incredibly kind, incredibly sweet neighbors. I had neighbors that made any transition period I've been having in my life easier. I remember when I moved to Chicago and I was living in my first apartment, I had a neighbor that knocked on my door. I had been living there for like 2 days, and I didn't have stuff. I'm like this broke kid who just moved to Chicago with like 2 suitcases of like clothes and a couple of other things. And so knocks on my door, and it's like, hey, this older guy, and he's like, hey, I saw that you moved in. If you need anything or you have any questions about the building, just hit me up. I live right there. And I'm thinking he's like the building manager or something. So I'm like, oh yeah, what's your name? And we get to talking a little bit. And as we're talking, I realize he doesn't work for the building at all. This dude is literally just checking on me for the sake of checking on me. And he's like, if you need anything, because I saw, you were having a little trouble, I couldn't have caught up to you, but I was going to help you up and everything. And I was like, oh, thank you, man. And we didn't see each other often. And I remember the day that I moved out, because I ran into him again. I ran into him and his wife. And he was like, man, I'm sorry to see you go. Because I can tell, we never really got to chop it up or anything, but I could tell that I like the way you move. And you didn't cause any trouble. You were just cool. And I wish I would have knocked on your door a couple more times, right? I never forgot about that guy, because even knowing that there was someone there if I was having a problem, it just made living there on my own a little bit easier. Just in the back of my head. Once again, we didn't even have that many interactions. I only knocked on his door a couple times. And the couple of times I knocked on his door, he needed help too. There was one time where we had in our building a chute for the laundry that nobody used. Nobody ever used it, because it's not like it was one person. Do you ever, the chute for, this isn't Eloise. It's weird that there was a chute for the laundry, because it just went to the floor down there, and you'd have to go down there to wash your own clothes anyway. So I guess if you wanted to save yourself the weight of the trip, you could push all the clothes down and let them get nice and nasty, and then slip through the chute and then hit the ground, and now it's got different stuff on it than the reason that you're washing it. So nobody used it. And nobody used it because it was nasty. And so then one day, the actual building manager poured a whole bunch of bug poison down it to try to kill some of the bugs that had been living in there. And the bugs were like, you know what? I think we'll go everywhere else. And so then one day I came home and my apartment was just overrun with bugs, and it didn't make sense because I didn't even have stuff. I had a fork, a bowl, it was kind of like a saucer. It wasn't a plate. It was a plate that you would put a teacup on. I didn't even have dishes to be nasty enough to have all these bugs. So I'm freaking out. I'm killing a bunch of bugs, and then I run over and I knock on his door, and when I open his door, he looks like me. He's like, you too? But both of us just knowing that we're both dealing with bugs was enough to make the whole thing easier. He helped me kill some of my bugs. I helped him kill some of his bugs. And we were both very upset with the building manager. I had another neighbor when I was living this like short little bit in this, I don't even know how to describe it. It was like, it was a house, but it was like, you know how there's it wasn't a duplex. Okay, the house I was living in was like perfectly split in two, right? To make two unlivable houses. Okay, so I wasn't staying there for long, but it was just two completely unlivable houses, right? And I had a neighbor that lived next to me where I moved in, and once again, this older lady, so sweet, sweet as could be, knocks on my door, and it's like, hey, I saw that you just moved in. I wanted to, she had baked something, like old school, like out of the movies. She had baked something. She was like, I made you a little something, some muffins. I know moving is hard. I know sometimes you don't have anything to eat right after you move. So this is for you, right? And I was like, oh, I didn't even know what to do. I was like, oh, thank you. Thank you so much. And she was like, yeah, you know, I like to help people get their bearings. And just so you know, I just want to be the one to tell you so you don't have to find out on your own. There's a crackhead in the wall. And when you get that type of warning, it does make you look at the muffins twice. One has nothing to do with the other. But I was still like, oh. And she was like, yeah, we thought it was a bird for a long time. And then he started talking. And so if you hear anything in the middle of the night, just pound on the wall a couple times and he'll stop. I was like, okay. All right. Okay. And I closed the door and I sat in silence for the rest of the night. Waiting to hear a noise that would never come. It wasn't until like months later I heard some scratching in the wall, and I was like, how does somebody just live with it? And so I knocked on her door, and she came to the door. She was like, you hear him too. And I was like, look, I know you lived here longer than me, but in case it is a bird, maybe we should call animal control. Just throwing it out there, right? And she's like, you can do what you want. I called animal control, and then they could hear the scratching too. And then they went ahead and went on the roof, and they said that they found a slight hole in the roof, and turns out it was a bird. It had been a bird the entire time, and I'm pretty sure it was a bird when she heard it, but maybe she just had the TV on. Maybe she was like, he's talking. Animal control leaves with the bird. I go over, I tell her it was a bird. Animal control called the bird, and she was like, thank you so much. Seriously, thank you so much. That has been happening for like 8 months, off and on, and I was positive it was a crackhead. And I guess that's what a good neighbor does. I guess a good neighbor lets you know nobody's in your wall. Because I think fundamentally the toughest thing people are facing right now is like a true a true way forward where they can trust other people to help them and take care of them. And I can't tell you to just blindly put your faith in people that you don't know, even if they live next to you. But what I can tell you is that most people return energy. Most people give like for like. So if there's a community that you want around you, all you have to do is be its founder. If you are the one knocking on your neighbor's door, letting them know you're here, if they need anything, they'll probably do the same for you. And it's so simple to build community. It's so much more likely that you're going to build community than you're going to become a billionaire. Do you know what I mean? Like, both things are incredibly hard to do. They take a lot of hard work and everything, and one of them means everyone will hate you. You know, because when you're broke as well, the thing that happens, I think, the most often is that we have a real misunderstanding of each other. Rich people, the rich people that I've met in my life, no rich person I know feels rich. They feel comfortable. Now, they'll do whatever it takes to maintain their level of comfort, but they don't feel rich. They're like, no, I'm just comfortable. I'm just chilling. And you show them how much they make, and they're like, yeah, I got to maintain, you know, I got kids, and then you show them how much the rest of the world makes, and they're like, ooh. Okay, maybe we don't tell anybody how much I make. And the same thing, when you're broke, there's a genuine misunderstanding around the decisions that people make when they're poor, around the way that people think, because there's not the possibility of thinking past tomorrow, because you're not even sure you're going to get there. Do you know what I mean? When you really don't have means, when you really don't have money, you come off wild sometimes, because all your requests are strange, because you're just trying to piece things together just so you can make it to the next day. You know? Like, a good example is I used to work at a grocery store, and one time in the break room, we're eating our lunch, and this one dude opened his lunch and then just said out loud to everybody, hey, I made a hamburger at home, but oof, does anybody have a top bun? Sir. They're always sold even. How did this happen? We look at money as paper, right? At least when it's in its physical form, it's this paper thing. But it's more than paper. There's fabric weaved into it. There's linen, there's cotton. It works the same way that society works. There's fabric that weaves all of us together. And there are people who have not been able to participate in the opportunities of making money or making their well-being out of these chances in the market the way that other people have. And so when you tell them that a recession is coming, they're like, oh, a what? Okay. I was already broke. Do you know what I mean? What is a recession to somebody who was on the street the whole time? I guess the best example I can give is one time I was at a party with my friends, and I fell in the pool. And falling in the pool at a party is one of the more embarrassing things you can do when it's not a pool party. If you fall in the pool at a party where people are just sort of standing around the pool and talking, you might as well have fallen off the roof. But I fell into the pool at the party, which is not just embarrassing, it's not just annoying, because now all my clothes are wet and everything. It's terrifying because I can't swim. You know what I mean? I'm not a swimmer in the way that I would like to be. And the way that I would like to be is to be able to survive. And so when it comes to swimming, I'm not only not a fan, I'm not efficient. And so I get in the water, and when you don't swim, and I don't just mean can't swim, I'm saying when you don't swim, like for fun or anything, being surrounded by water out of nowhere is very concerning. I I didn't realize I had stepped into the pool until I was in the pool. So now what I feel like has happened is that I turned around and water surrounded me. And so I start doing what I think swimming is innately. I start fighting the water, right? I'm punching and I'm kicking and I'm like, get off me, water, but I'm in the water. But I'm like, get back, I don't want you over here. And that's not how water works. And so I'm sifting through the water and it's almost like swimming, except I'm staying in place underneath it. So that is drowning. That's what drowning is. When you're swimming perfectly, but you're not going up above and you can't get your head up, you're not actually swimming, you're drowning. And it's also exhausting. You're fighting and you're punching, you're kicking, and you're moving, and you're doing a pretty good job of drowning. If you could get your head above water, this would be swimming. And if you could get your chest up, if you could do that butterfly thing, now you're a swimmer. But I am over here, no more water. Get out of my face, right? So then it takes someone pulling me out of the water for me not to actually drown. And not right after, not soon enough after, but pretty soon after, we leave the party. And not as soon as you would like if you almost drowned. You know what I mean? Like and it's tough too, because like the dude saved you as your ride. So now he's doing you two favors, you know. So then, you know, man saves me, and my buddy pulls me out of the water, and now, you know, we stay an extra 20 minutes because now he's got his MAC points for saving a life in front of everybody. You know? That's what most embarrassing. The only thing more embarrassing than like showing a whole party full of people you can't swim is to be sitting there wet while the person that saved you tries to mac on somebody. Just like, yeah, you know, I do what I can. I do what I try to help out the people, you know, and doing my best. And it's like, also, my man didn't. Look, I'm not necessarily trying to give notes on being saved, but like, my man did jump in the pool and grab me and lift me up and swim me to the shore of the edge of the pool, right? This man just stuck his arm in and kept clawing at me until he got the back of my shirt. That's barely saving. Like, when I tell you that I'm over here, stop it, water, no, I don't want any more. And then he is over here, bow, and he missed like 8 times. So he was punching me in the head while trying to save my life. And he finally hooks his hand behind my collar and pulls me up the way that a cat sort of lifts its kitten in its mouth. You know what I mean? Just sloppy. And then I'm also still fighting. I don't know what's pulling me up, so I don't know if that's more drowning. I don't know what the effects of drowning feel like. So now I'm not necessarily fighting his hand, but I am still fighting the water. And so if you were on the other side of the pool, it does look like I was drowning. He reached in, dunked me one more time just to be safe, and then pulled me up. Because I don't know that he's trying to help me. But when he finally pulls me up and I'm over here coughing up the water and everything, this man helps me get up out of the pool and then immediately sees the eyes on him and everything, sees the opportunity, and he's like, oh yeah, you know, I do what I can. Also, I know he saved my life and everything, but also the fact that he didn't need to roll his sleeves up like that. Like that was even more just worth like, oh yeah, you know, I tried. Now you sitting here wet, just like, can you wrap it up, get the number or don't? And so then me, him, and some other friends head to his car once he's ready to leave, and his car won't start. Waited for nothing. Now, luckily, we were staying at his house, and luckily he did live close enough to the party that we could walk. It was like maybe, I don't know, like a mile and some change. It wasn't crazy. And so we start walking. As we start walking, it starts drizzling. And then it's drizzling a little bit more, drizzling a little bit harder, and then it really starts raining. And when it starts raining, all my friends did a different thing when it was raining. Like, I had one friend that did the turtle. Just walking and just trying to... And I get it, because he has some deep collarbones. He would have had 2 lakes on either side of his neck if he had just let the water hit. That would have been 2 puddles he had to carry. So I understand him trying to... Then I had another friend who was over here doing this, which genuinely pissed me off. That's one of the craziest things I've seen. You have 2 hands, one hand covering some of your head, but not even efficiently. Where's the distance management here? You'd be better putting the hand on your head. Then I had another friend who just decided to lean forward, because I guess he just doesn't want a wet front. He's just cool with it all hitting the back. And as it's raining and raining, my friend was over here doing this, turns to me, because I'm just walking. I'm not doing any of this. I'm just walking normal. And they're like, "Oh, John, you must not mind the rain." And I was like, I almost drowned 20 minutes ago. And that's what it's like when you're broke. You're almost drowning all the time. So when people try to scare you with talks of a recession, you're like, why would I? What? You're doing this. I'm already wet. And the way to ensure that you're going to be okay, the way to ensure that your family is going to be okay, is by creating chains, by linking up together with other people, with other families. Because the way forward, your future, I guarantee you, it's not in the market. There's a belief that, like, if I can just get enough ahead, maybe I'll pull some other people with me. And that sort of thinking is the reason that we as the people can be taken advantage of so easily when it comes to money. It's like, I can get you a little bit ahead. Oh, I'd like to be a little bit ahead, right? But the way forward, your future, I promise you it's in your neighbor. I promise you, there's no one that's going to take care of you like the people that are actually next to you. And it's kind of daunting to me. It does freak me out a little bit that there are so many people, every election, every year, no matter who's president, that expect the person in office to make them rich. Don't you know this is America? Do you know what I mean? Like, that's just not how it works. It's not how it's ever worked. You may like the person in office, you may not, but I guarantee you they're not going to make you rich. That's not how anything works. And don't get me wrong, I've had dreams before. I had a hard time getting to know people, and I had a hard time communicating with people. I'm an only child, and my mom wanted me to have friends so I wouldn't be crazy. And so, as a single parent with one kid, my mom, the only thing she knew how to do was go ahead and take me over to her other single parents' friends' houses where they had one kid, and she was like, maybe y'all will just play and not be crazy together. And sure enough, there was a time in my life where my parents got back together, and so we were a 2-income household, so I started to get the good toys, right? The real good toys. I'm talking WCW, NWO, wrestling toys, Sting, Goldberg, Kevin Nash. And sure enough, you know, I remember I got those toys. Those are some of my favorite toys in the world because I didn't know ankles had come out yet. I would hold up my Kevin Nash and I'd be like, bow, 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 bow. Look what he does. Bow, 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 bow. He had knees, he had ankles, he could do this. That's crazy. I was used to this only. Maybe if you were getting fancy, some of this, but I wasn't used to this. This thing right here, this is crazy. Real shoulder movement? My mind was blown. It's like, look at what this thing can do. Bow, 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 right? And so then my mom took me over to her friend's house, and her friend had a kid, and I went ahead and brought over 2 of my toys. I brought my Kevin Nash and I brought my Sting because I'm trying to make a good impression. And so we're talking, they're talking, and finally we go to his room to play, and my mom leaves to go run some errands or something. And I quickly realized after my mom left that he was crazy. He was genuinely crazy because all of his toys, every single one of his toys, didn't have a face. None of his toys had faces. I don't know if he was chewing them or if he was burning them, but they were gone. And so he looked at my Sting toy and he was like, oh, we have the same one. And I was like, I don't see how that's possible. I don't see how that's possible. And then sure enough, this kid pulls out his Sting toy, and I know we have the same toy because the Sting had the jacket. The jacket you could put on, you could take off and everything. And so we're playing, and I'm trying to be a collaborative new friend, right? I'm like, what do you want to do? You want to do Legos? You want to do like wrestlers, whatever? And then we decide Legos. So I was like, do you want to build a castle? You want to build a wall? What do you want to do? So we decide to build a castle, right? And then this kid, we're halfway through the castle, maybe 100 pieces to go. And this kid grabs the castle, lifts it up, throws it against the wall. It explodes into like 190,000 pieces. And I'm like, what did you do that for? And he goes, don't talk to me. And I was like, oh man, yeah, chill, Satan, chill, okay? Back up, devil, okay? Because I had been prepared in case the situation happened, because I knew I wasn't a crazy only child, but I knew there were other crazy only children out there. So I already had my thing on me, right? I had that lance in my back pocket. I was like, don't you come near me. I will cut you open. This thing is 6 weeks old. I don't know if y'all saw everything that's happening with Tesla either. That's crazy stuff. Okay, so basically, if you're not aware, Tesla's an electric vehicle that, rewind just a couple of years was not a political statement at all. It was a car you could buy or not buy. It was just a car on the market that had some stock, and the stock would go up and go down and go up and go down. And then, Elon Musk decides to get involved with politics and gives anywhere from like $250 to I think maybe $270 million to Trump's campaign. And then Trump wins, and Elon becomes the president. And so Elon becomes the president, and people don't really know how to feel because this particular thing hasn't happened before. There's always been like millionaires and billionaires donating to campaigns and stuff like that, but this is the most like infused a person has been in like what's gonna happen, and it's very clear in what is self-serving when it comes to like Elon's actions and everything. And so then, inauguration day comes, and there's all the fanfare of like this new administration is starting. And there are some people who own Teslas already, like they bought theirs in 2022. And they would tell people, hey, I bought mine in 2022. Like, I don't... Just so you know, I got mine in 2022. I didn't know, and I wasn't a part of, and I was trying to get electric vehicle to help the environment. I didn't know it would be. So, just so you know about me. And then Elon's giving a speech, and then he says, my heart goes out to you. And then he does like a full-on Nazi salute, right? And does it again, for clarity. And there is a part of me that genuinely, when someone buys something, especially something expensive, and then something happens with that company, a part of me does feel for them, because there are people who bought their Tesla in 2022. They might have been sitting in their Tesla when they saw Elon do a Nazi salute, like. And now you sitting here, you gotta lease this car. I don't know if y'all saw, but Trump released the JFK files, or at least is starting to release the JFK files, and yeah, it's a lot. He said there's like 80,000 pages or something. I think they've released like anywhere from like 2 to 20,000 already, with more to come and stuff. And I don't know about anybody else, but when it comes to JFK and the conspiracies around his death, those were like some of the first moments that you saw, for at least a wide population of Americans, trust in government and its agencies break. A trust that they've never got back since, where like whole government agencies don't have the trust of the people, because up until then, you know, maybe they classified things, maybe they told the public lies or whatever, but they were things that people felt like they could at least get on with life believing. You know, JFK was the first thing for a lot of people that spawned the real like tinfoil hat stuff, what aren't they telling us sort of thing. And so you would see something like this big release of the files, you know, 20,000 with like 60,000 more to come. And it's kind of crazy that everyone sees that and they're like, nah, I'm good. 80,000 pages? I don't think JFK cares that much. That's 80,000 pages. Game of Thrones isn't 80,000 pages. 80,000 pages is insane. What are you doing? You know, it's like the thing is full. It's full. I've read some of it, and it's full of things that are snapshots of the time that JFK was assassinated in, but they aren't things that people were looking for. When people talk about files that they want released, they're talking about things that probably have been destroyed forever, like the some of the autopsy files, some of the coroner's notes, all that stuff like that is not in what's been released. What's been released are the goings on of like Cuba, Mexico City, USSR, and everything. And the one thing that we did find out for sure through the release of the files is that the CIA had a much bigger file and much more knowledge of Lee Harvey Oswald than we previously thought. And they had been tracking his movements and everything. He had been going to these different countries. I'm pretty sure he went to Mexico City for a little bit, and then he went to the USSR. And I don't know if the word is defect, but he basically was trying to leave the U.S., become an expat and join USSR, and even tore up his passport and everything. And the USSR was like, oh, nah. Nah, we good. That's crazy to me. That's someone, you have a CIA file on you and you're trying to move to the USSR, and they are like, You giving off some bad vibes. Like, I don't know what it is, but you creeping everybody out. Like, you stare too much, dog. Like, you just, what are you looking at when you looking over here? It's unsettling. Just take that somewhere else. And so then he came back somehow. Didn't seem like he had a problem coming back, even though he tore up his passport. And then commits the assassination, and then Jack Ruby kills Lee Harvey Oswald. And there were so many people who thought that Jack Ruby's mob ties meant that he was sort of there to close up loose end, that maybe the mob did it. And even now, there are people that say, oh no, the mob did it, Cuba did it, the Soviets did it. I think that when you're going through all these pages and you're reading this stuff that we're learning about how much the CIA and the FBI actually knew and didn't do anything, it doesn't really surprise me. It doesn't do much for me in the way of a revelation. And it's probably just because, because I'm black. As a black guy, I'm not going to sit here and be like, not the CIA. You mean to tell me the CIA? Next, you gonna be talking about the FBI. Guys, no, not at all. Because that's the thing. That's what trips me up too, is all these pages are getting released. There are things that were released during Trump's first administration that were redacted pretty heavily, and then they've been re-released, not redacted, right? Or just one line redacted. So much so that there are people that are actually mad at Trump because they're like, some of that stuff, some of those people are still alive. What are you doing? Yeah. And so then, you'll have like one little line that's redacted, and you'll have someone obsess over that specific line because it's not finding the truth for them. It's about keeping the conspiracy going, because you'll even see they uploaded it to the archives. You can check it out in the archives right now. They uploaded everything they've uploaded so far. In my opinion, they've done pretty badly. I think they just had a scanner and they were like, he said today, so... I know it's crooked. He said today. I know. Honestly, I looked at some of the files, some of the handwriting in some of the notes, whether it's written by a CIA agent or like some politician, some of the notes in there are so bad. Like, the handwriting is so bad. I'm like, he did it. Like, that's suspicious as hell, handwriting. Little thing. Little line will be redacted. Oh, that's what they don't want you to see. That's where all the truth is. It's like, look, maybe. I'm not even saying that's not possible. Maybe. But also... maybe it's just like an address that makes sure that a person who has nothing to do with this doesn't get implicated. There are all types of reasons to redact something. And it's when people put that much weight on the thing to keep the whole thing going that I'm like, you don't want to know. You want to keep guessing, And don't get me wrong, it's fun. It's fun to guess. I love guessing. I don't know what I'm talking about half the time. Sometimes I'm just guessing. Best way I can describe it is I'm a fight fan. So I watch boxing, I watch MMA and stuff like that. And I watch men's fights, I watch women's fights, and I just kind of follow the fighter and follow their journey and enjoy who I enjoy because I like the person. I like their story, right? And there was this young woman. I do not know if she is from Brazil. I think she is because I'm pretty sure she was speaking Portuguese, and she only speaks Portuguese. She doesn't speak English. So after fights, when someone wins, especially if they don't speak the language, they will do the post-fight interview right there. And they might do another
press conference later, but they'll do the post-fight interview. And if they do not speak the language, someone will come out, a translator for the promotion will come out. And in this case, her translator was her coach. So she wins the fight, and it's big. It's the biggest fight that she's won of her career. It puts her in the rankings and everything. And so the announcer walks up, and he's like, "Congratulations on a fantastic fight. Was this win mean to you? It's sort of putting you on the map right now against such a tough opponent." And she speaks for like 8 seconds, and then her coach goes, "Thank you so much, everybody, for watching my fight. I really appreciate it. I worked really hard, and thank you so much for the love." And then she speaks for another 8 seconds, and the coach is like, "Everything that I do, I'm doing for y'all at home, from my town, to show you that no matter what, where you're from, you can make it on the world stage." And then the announcer asks her, what are your future plans? What's next for you? You know, now that you're in the rankings, is there a certain opponent you want to call out? And she speaks even shorter this time, for like 6 seconds. And then her coach is like, "Yeah, the next plans are anybody who wants it, all right? I'm taking heads, I'm taking necks. I want your limbs, give me your arms, give me your legs. If I see you on the street, it's already on, you already know. The best thing you could do is drop out of the division right now, because I'm coming for all y'all's necks. I'm killing everybody, all right? You're gonna dream about me, and then when you wake up, I'm gonna be there. That's on God, okay? I'm killing all of y'all. None of y'all can stop me. None of y'all can touch me. What I did to her was a mercy killing. I'm coming to kill y'all for real. I want your bodies, okay? I'm stacking bodies, all right? And the champ, I'm going to beat the champ, and I'm going to beat the brakes off the champ in her hometown. She's going to bleed in front of her people, okay?" And then they exited the octagon. They went ahead and left, and then there was a fighter, because you know fighters watch other fighters' fights, and they'll live tweet it, and he tweeted right after that whole thing, "She ain't say all that." And I'm not gonna lie, that's what those redacted lines feel like to me sometimes, where I'm just like, yeah, look, maybe the whole truth is in the one sentence, but maybe it's in the 80,000 pages that nobody feels like reading. Because Trump said he was going to release JFK files, and he slowly released them over time, I guess. And then there were people that were like, "Well, why don't you release the Epstein files? The Epstein files are what we want. That's what we're actually focused on. Why won't you release the Epstein files? Is it because you actually knew Epstein? Is it because you might be implicated? Is it because you were on the flight logs? Why won't you release the Epstein files?" All right. And then he does release the Epstein files. But what he does is he releases a bunch of files that were already released like last year, and then redacts some of them to make them look like they're newly half redacted files. And then people called it online immediately. They were like, "No, this isn't it at all." And then even the people who were like showing it off and like, "Look at this transparency," then they got mad because they were like, "You made us look like idiots. We thought you were releasing stuff you hadn't released before." And so then people called again, "Why aren't you releasing the Epstein files?" So if you're Trump, you know, you're probably sitting here, the only thing you can do is release the Epstein files and hope it's 100,000 pages. You know what I mean? Who would have known the only distance between people and getting to the truth was reading? You know what I mean? We want to know. We as a people have the right to know. It's 80,000 pages. I'm gonna wait till the movie come out. But what are you gonna do? You know, Elon's the president. We know he's the president because, first of all, he telling everybody to report to him, sending whole government employees emails, "Tell me everything you did." It's like, isn't some of that classified? Like, it's wild. You stand in the Oval Office talking about what we're doing. It's like, who is we? got your son in there. That's how you could tell Trump not the president. Got Elon's son rubbing his boogers on him. I've had a lot of jobs and a lot of bosses, and no boss's child has ever rubbed boogers on me. I will quit before I let your child rub boogers on me. Elon is the face of Tesla, and he's also the face of Doge, this department that's been cutting all these government jobs and gutting a lot of government programs and everything. And I've talked to a lot of people, a lot of people across the political spectrum about Doge, about their actions, and from the time it started to present, right? So some people are like, oh yeah, it's a little bit much now that we're very much on its side. There are some people that still don't see a problem. There's some people that hate it from the very beginning. But one thing that I have not come across, and I only speak for myself, I'm not talking about I can't speak for the entirety of the internet. One thing I've come across is that there is no one who I have come across that says that there's no waste in the government and that they don't want to get to the bottom of what can be saved or what can be put to better use somewhere else. I think that's what generally everybody would want. If you pay your taxes and then you see where money's being wasted, it's like, oh, we have so many people who need that money in other departments, just move it over to them or give it back to the people or whatever the thing is. I don't think people inherently are upset about the idea that there's waste in the government. I know people that work in the government, they're like, this is a little waste. And so all of it comes down to what you cut and how you do it. That's it, top to bottom. That's the only thing anybody could really have a problem with, what you cut and how you do it, right? And I'll be vulnerable for a second. I'll admit to you right now, I've worked jobs. I've worked jobs where I was like, I'm not going to tell anybody, but like, they really don't need me. Like, as long as they paying, I'll keep showing up, but like... And you end up seeing what happens. Because the thing with... whether it's voters or whether it's like rhetoric around how to handle this stuff, there are people who even now genuinely believe, oh, let's get a business person. Let's get someone who's good at business and government so they can run the government as efficiently as they run their business, right? And the problem there is that, like, let's say Amazon, a good example is like, let's say Amazon makes a mistake. And they make a mistake that all of us, everyone here, can acknowledge and see as a mistake. And so as a mistake, their stock drops because they lose some of the faith from their shareholders. Now, we see that drop in the stock, and maybe the mistake they make is they announce that all the cars from now on gonna have 3 wheels. Like, oh, we're gonna save so much money on tires. And we're like, no, you're gonna flip over, okay? And so then you see the stock start to dip because of that lack of confidence. And then for you as a potential investor, even a retail investor, that dip in the stock is an opportunity. You can buy in now. You can buy into that dip, and then when it goes back up, because they realize that 4 is probably best, that you can ride that wave on up. Fair enough. When you crash... When you crash out a business, when you make mistakes in business, when you run a poor business, you can always start another business. The people who we even look up to as these beacons of industry were all people at some point who had a failed business, right? But the government is not a business, because if you crash out the government, if you make the same mistakes with the government, you don't have a country. And you can't just be like, no, we're just going to start new America. You know, I used to have like a lemonade stand America, and that one didn't really work out, so I started like a tire shop America, and that still really wasn't it. So then I started this hedge fund America, and now we're cooking. It does not work that way. And you saw what happened. You saw Elon run the government because he's the president. You saw Elon run the government the way he ran his business. When Elon took over Twitter, right? He comes into Twitter and he immediately starts firing everybody because he's like, you're waste, you're redundant, I don't know what you do, I don't know what that is, you're fired, you're fired, you're fired. And then a couple days after he took over, remember that brief period where he was like, how do you turn it on? And then someone who still worked there, who he didn't fire, was like, oh, you fired the dude who turned it on. Yeah, you asked me for a list of people to fire. I'm not going to put my name on the list. And so you see, you end up seeing Elon firing people and then trying to like hire them back real quick and trying to like smooth over the things that he broke that didn't need breaking, you know? And then Doge ends up working the same way. It ends up swooping in and firing a bunch of people and then trying to hire some of them back real quick, and it's chaos. And Elon is the face of it. He's the face of it because we didn't know who else was working in Doge. We didn't know who was essentially like hacking into Social Security, who was going around judges' orders, who was breaking things and going to places they weren't supposed to be because we hadn't figured out how this whole thing was going to work. We didn't know. And then we found out that it was children. We found out they leaked the photos of those people that were high up in Doge that were getting into Social Security and the IRS and everything. And we were like, what? Fresh out of school, I saw one kid's picture who was like high up in Doge doing all the breaking in and stuff. And I was like, Peter Parker? I cannot believe that Spider-Man gonna cut off my grandma's Social Security. So I don't think anyone saying like there's no waste, but it's what you cut and how you cut it. You know, I think people would have appreciated like an actual audit. They said that they did one, but usually when you do an audit and you really account for the waste and you really account for what jobs you do and don't need, you don't have to hire anybody back. You know? The amount of people that they fired and then tried to immediately rehire shows that they're not actually being as careful as they should be with the process. Because I'll tell you right now, everyone that has ever fired me stood firm in their decision. I've never been fired and then somebody ran out after me. Hold on. That's my bad. I was wild. I was trying to look good in front of the other employees. You come on back in here. That has never happened. Anyone who has ever fired me has never called me again. But then Elon is the face of them. People don't know what to do. They don't know what to do to express their anger and their disappointment, their frustration about this unelected person gutting these government programs. And you see where people, it's not just like a one-sided thing. It's not just like a liberal thing. You know, there are people who are like, I voted for Trump. I believe in what Doge is doing, but then I'm told that I'm being cut because of bad performance, even though I'm holding right here a performance review for like a month before the election where they said that I was doing great, you know? And so then people across the political spectrum are going to the town halls and they're complaining to the representatives, and the representatives, they're not really hearing them out. They're not really backing them up. So there's even more frustration, and it's bubbling up, and it's bubbling up. And he's the face of two things. He's the face of Doge, and he's the face of Tesla. And so then people go to the Tesla dealership, and he's not there. But people go to the Tesla dealership and they start protesting at the Tesla dealership, and then the stock starts tanking because there are people that are like, being attached to this right now is not a good look, you know? And then people start vandalizing Teslas, start putting swastikas on the Teslas and stuff like that. And then there are people who, you know, bought a Tesla in 2022. They're like, guys, I didn't know. I had no idea. And almost immediately, it felt like almost immediately, Trump came to his defense, right? Trump invited Elon to the White House. I mean, he already got an office there because because this is White House. He's the boss. He's the president. But Trump told Elon, hey, bring a bunch of Teslas, park them out front of the White House. We'll do a dealership commercial. This man got in the Tesla. Trump got in the Tesla, was like, everything's computer. Which is not wrong. It's not wrong. I remember my first Tesla experience. You know, I didn't ride in a Tesla for a long time. I heard about it as a car, but I didn't get to be in one, and I don't drive, so I didn't try to drive one or anything. And my first Tesla that I ever got in was an Uber. And so when I walked up, I didn't know about the door. I didn't know the door be all smooth like that. So this is me. Look, I'm admitting for a second. I'm being vulnerable here. I'm admitting for a second that this is me. This is my bad. I was doing too much in my head. I was doing too much, all right? Know that I know that before I even admit this to you. I was doing too much, right? But when I walked up to the Tesla, I thought my driver sucked the door in because I was black. And I was standing there like, never in all my days have I seen this type of racism. I was fierce. It was all smooth and everything. And so finally, driver noticed I'm not getting in the car, so he rolled down the window. I lean over all indignant like... And then he started explaining how to open it. I was like, what do you mean you gotta push to pull? That doesn't even make sense. And then I get it with my thumb, and I was like, oh. Oh, okay. Got in the Uber, we took off. And this is the thing with the gig economy jobs, right? Is that, how do I put this? There's a social contract we have not written yet on like how much this is like your property versus my time versus our experience. Right? And so when I get in an Uber, I'm very respectful of the fact that this person's car. This isn't my car, right? I'm not renting it so it can be my car for a little while. And we're sharing this time together, but it is my time that I'm paying for, so that's what makes me the customer, you know? So I try to not make any waves. I get in an Uber and I'm just like whatever they need to do. Sometimes there are people who start driving Uber very, very early, so they're tired. And so they got to blast themselves with cold air. They have to have their window down. And I'm like, I'd rather that than us die warm, you know? So I don't say anything. I'm like, I'll just be uncomfortable on the way to the airport because that's what's keeping this man awake. And this is the person that showed up to drive me, right? So I almost never say anything. It's a very big deal for me to even try to say anything. And I go ahead and I do it, though. I'm like, hey, I'm so sorry. I'm not like, I usually don't do this or anything. But you know, I leaned over to him and I was like, hey, I'm so sorry. But could you please, like, touch the wheel, like. No, I know it's autopilot. I know it's autopilot. You put it in and everything. I just don't know what I'm paying for if we going. Like if we. Like I'm not telling you how to drive. I'm telling you to drive. Like it would be nice if you did drive. Like. Just put a finger up. Make me believe. Just put a finger. And so you see all of these all of these attacks on Tesla increasing, and the stock price dips and dips and dips, and it goes up a little bit. Every once in a while it goes up because there's some people who don't care about any of this at all, and they see it as an opportunity to buy low, and so it'll go up a little bit, maybe like 3-4% here, and then it drops a little bit more, and it's down from its high by a lot. And you've even seen people like in the Trump administration come out and say, hey, if you vandalize a Tesla, we're treating it as domestic terrorism. We're coming for you if you touch a Tesla, right? And it's just baffling, because everything that Trump is doing for Elon and everything that his administration is doing for Tesla is exactly what they were supposed to do for the voters. You know what I mean? Like Trump saw that his boy was having a little dip, was like a little bit more broke than he was the day before. He was like, let me help you out. You know what I mean? That felt like a campaign promise that I thought he made to everybody, but apparently he was just talking to 3 people. And even going after people who vandalize a Tesla as domestic terrorism. Like, when do we ever talk about domestic terrorism? You know how much domestic terrorism we have? It's a lot. And then you see Elon go on the news, and genuinely he seems like really upset, like genuinely hurt. And I think it's because, look, he's still richest man in the world, but he used to be the richest man in the world by a larger margin. Like, he has lost billions and billions and billions of dollars, right? And he's so affected by it. And I think that maybe he's so affected by it because when these things are such a part of your life, they do become your identity. Maybe being richest man in the world, maybe being seen as this, like, this business guru, this scientific mind, all that stuff crumbles away when the people are not with you, when the people can't stand you, when you've angered them, when they don't want to have anything to do with you, And he sees the destruction, he sees the people turning on him, and he seems genuinely upset. And I don't think his feelings are hurt because some people are mad at him. He's never going to meet these people. I think that when you attach so much of your self-worth to this money and this status, this influence and this power, even the prospect of losing it can rattle you deep down, right? To your core as a person. And it looks like he's about to cry on the news when he's talking about, I don't know what I did to deserve this. It's like... And look, I'm glad he said that to a camera by himself and not like to a veteran's face. Like, he didn't really get that. The dude on Fox was like, you've done nothing to deserve this. You're a true patriot, whatever he said. And, I was sitting here watching Elon get genuinely sad. And I was like, oh, my heart goes out to you. So I saw this video for this robot butler. There's a robot butler that you can buy and bring into your home if you've never watched a sci-fi film. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you just avoided all of them, if it's just not your genre, but you're like, oh, a whole robot. Yeah, let's get him in here. Give him access to all the knives. No, you can. You can do it now. You can order one. It's thousands of dollars. It's very expensive. You could get a robot in your home, do a bunch of like small tasks, chores, things you don't feel like doing. And it's just, it's a whole, it's a whole robot with like legs, arms, hands. They did everything. I don't know if they did toes, but it walks, and it just, the thing that freaks me out about this thing is that
in the development along the way, I'm not saying every single company that develops every robot does the same thing, but you've seen the videos. Some of these videos have gone viral because every time they get closer to building a robot that has like perfect balance or is either stronger or more adept at a task. Every time they do something like that, it goes viral. We see it. They cover it on like the morning news and stuff. And I just know that to get robots to this point where this robot is at now, that they don't just fall over, it took a long time. You used to see these robots where they, tip. That's not fast enough. You're not going to get your stuff in a timely manner. You need them taking whole steps, and they take whole steps, but they didn't have good foot placement, so then they tip into the middle, they fall. And so then we started making ones where the whole purpose is that they can't fall, and the way we tested if they could fall or not was we did kick them. We did almost exclusively kick them. And not little taps either. Not like a little hook. Here's a little trip for it. You would see people in the video walk up to the robot like, wow! And the only reason you didn't feel worse for the robot is it didn't have a face. This thing, it looked very sad, and there was one, look, maybe I'm in my head about this. I swear when I was watching, because you know that dog they made like a dog first that couldn't fall. And I was like, so you just go kick a dog. I know it's a robot dog, but like still, you kick this dog and the dog got better and better at not falling, better and better at catching itself and everything, to the point where it got to where it would not fall. It couldn't fall, right? But beyond not being able to fall, they still, they got to run tests, and the tests were as sophisticated as bow, right? But there was this one time this dude ran up, kicked the robot dog, and the robot dog stumbled. And it's a millisecond. It's so short that I had to watch this video 3,000 times to make sure I actually saw what I saw. But like, and then for a split second, you saw it think about going like, but it didn't do it. It didn't do it. And I was like, yeah, but you've been kicking it for a year and a half. You kicked its brother, you kicked its stepdad, like you kicked. And so now you take all that kicking history and you go ahead and put that into a robot in the home that can regular walk. I don't know how tall they are, but you get a robot in your home that's taller than you a fool. Okay? I'm gonna tell you right now, if you got to look up at your robot, you out your mind. If you yelling at your robot, I know you out of your mind if you over here, hey! That's insane. Because we also not polite. We've been taught to not be polite to the robot. That's been baked in now. I don't even know if you could. It would feel weird for you to be polite if you were polite. You know, millions and millions of people every day say, "Hey Alexa." And you know what they don't say? Please. You want to know how I know that? First Alexa experience I had, I didn't like it. Because it was in the house, but I didn't know where it was. So I was like, all right, so you just inviting the ghosts in then. You way too comfortable with ghosts, because sooner or later, because you don't know if your house haunted. So now you over here talking to Alexa all the time. Then one day Alexa voice a little raspy. You don't even clock it. Now you in a whole murder house with a bad history, and you don't even. You think, oh, this is malfunction, and you got a whole poltergeist going on, and you over here calling Amazon. And so then, I go over to my friend's house, and my friend's like, "Oh, hey, we got this new thing. If you want to play some music, just say, 'Hey Alexa, play whatever.'" And I was like, "Hey, I just didn't want to do it." And he was like, "No, go ahead, give it a try." I was like, "All right. Hey Alexa, play Kendrick, please." And he was like, why'd you say please like that? I was like, I don't know. It's weird. Like, this is weird. This doesn't feel weird to you? And he's like, no, it's not weird. It's the future. I was like, all right, the future's uncomfortable. You know what I mean? I just don't think that's good practice for our interactions person to person. That every day you make demands of something without any courtesy, without any politeness, and then we wonder why people are like rude. You know what I mean? It's like more and more you're like, you get to the point where you're dealing with so much, whatever it is, you're dealing with so much AI, you're dealing with so many robots, that you start treating people like AI, like robots, like people who just sort of serve a function. You know, it's like I remember, you know, I was ordering some food, and they do this thing now just to make sure that you got your food when you do, like, I think like everybody does, I think like Uber Eats, Grubhub, I think everybody does it now, where when they want it at the door. When someone says, I want it handed to me at the door, they have to take a picture, right? So then they take the picture, and it's usually just of the receipt of the bag, right? But then, no, he's like, can't take a picture. I didn't know about this new policy. Like, I didn't know. And I'm not like, I want y'all to know, I don't think I'm like world famous or something, but he asked me if he wanted to pick, like, can I take a picture? And I was like, oh yeah, sure. And so then I got next to him. And I felt so bad for him because he like truly didn't know what to do, because he was like, oh, like, I guess he didn't want to correct me. I guess he didn't want to be like, no, please stand away from me. I'm just gonna take a picture of you. Because it also does sound a little weird to be like, hey, I'm gonna take a picture of you, be still. Like, that is a little uncomfortable. But then I had already walked out the door, and I'm side to side with him, waiting for him to lift the phone. And then this sweet man, just to spare my feelings, turned it on selfie mode. It goes, can you lift the bag up for the picture? I felt very, yeah. But that is what's happening, is that we're getting to this place where most of our interactions are like so transactional, down to the point of just what the service is, that it doesn't feel like we're having a relationship with a person, even a person who's like doing you a service. So then, of course, maybe in people's minds, the next step would be for a robot to be there. Do you know what I mean? Like, they're doing it with Uber already. Uber switching to these driverless cars, these like Waymos, and it's like, to a certain degree, why wouldn't you? Because people get in their Uber and they don't want to talk to the driver. Maybe the driver doesn't want to talk to them either, and it's just okay. It's almost a similar experience. No, it's just the butler thing is so much more off-putting. Because it is, okay, it's too, I don't know, like, why'd they have to give it a regular body? That's uncomfortable. Do you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't even have like a, like, if it had looked like a Power Ranger, then maybe, because like, that's still a little too much like regular body, but just it having a regular body is just it is uncomfortable. And it comes in 3 colors. Comes in 3 colors. It comes in like tan, silver, and black. And like a deep black, like an onyx. It comes very black. That's not uncomfortable for anybody? That you can now buy a black? That feels
That feels awkward. Imagine you buy one of these Neo things, you buy one of these robots. And let's say it's doing all the tasks. Let's say it's really good. And then you invite one of your black friends over. And it's over here setting the table, not speaking. What are we doing? You could have picked silver. You could have had silver. Silver was an option the entire time. And you were like, no, but I would like black. I would actually enjoy it more. Didn't make white. Didn't even make like a fuchsia. And I'm sure you can trace the thinking down to like how people even like their phones. Like people, like that's like a thing with iPhone, like tan, silver, black, right? But this is different. This feels very different. This feel like when you see it, especially, especially you over here giving orders, not saying please, just. It's a bad look. And they do all this testing. You know what I mean? They do all this. I love product promotion for tech because then the people who made the tech usually want to do the product promotion. That's like a big thing that comes from, fair enough, the world of tech, but mainly like Steve Jobs. Like Steve Jobs is who we look back and we see, wow, the iPhone revolutionized social. Like social wasn't even really a thing and couldn't really become a thing without the way we use our phone. Like there were just these moments when he held up like an iPod, when he held up an iPhone, that you look back at as like, wow, these are like pivotal moments. And because these people are trying to be like him, even if they're not trying to be exactly like him, they also want those pivotal moments for their career. They want to look back and be enough of a trendsetter and be enough of like a social beacon in tech, in communication, that you can look back at their clip and they held something up or they stood next to something and then it changed the world. Like, I understand why that's enticing, but at the same time, you're not great talking to people. That's almost across the board. We've seen, you remember when Zuckerberg was all in on the metaverse, when he was pouring billions of dollars. The metaverse was going to be the future. The metaverse was going to be how we worked, how we played. It was going to be how we visited people and communicated. There was a vision for the metaverse. He spent billions and billions of dollars pouring it into the metaverse, even though it wasn't profitable, even though people weren't integrating it into their lives fast enough for what they were projecting as like people who had people to answer to, like shareholders to answer to and stuff like that. Like, he still went all in, and then he did that product rollout. Showing, and look. He tried. Mark Zuckerberg, if you're not aware, does do an imitation of like a person you would talk to. Like, it's almost good. He does as good of an imitation of like a regular person as he can, and then he tried to do that for the rollout. So the day came. He was going to showcase the metaverse, the way of the future, right? And he comes out and he does his best imitation of like a guy. You saw it. You can go back and watch it. He's like, hey, everyone. It's nice to be here today with you. I want to introduce you to the metaverse. And what better way than meeting the version of you that would be in the metaverse? Come on out, Mark. And then the metaverse like avatar of Mark Zuckerberg walks up and does a way better imitation of a guy. know, because he's like, come on out, Mark. And then a Zuckerberg dressed exactly like him does walk up and go, how's it going? It's like, why don't you say hello to everyone? And you saw Meta Mark be like, what are you doing? You're making us look bad right now. Because these things are supposed to be the future, and you look at how we've been working our way up to this point. Because we're not talking about like a Roomba. You know, a Roomba. That felt like what future robots should be. Do you know what I mean? Just like doing the function. It's small, it gets into the little space. Every once in a while it like runs into the wall hard enough that you gotta just redirect it. Do you know what I mean? Like you feel like, okay, if your Roomba ever really like tried to square up. Do you know what I mean? Like if your Roomba was ever really feeling froggy one day and got some attitude with you could be like, okay, all right. Problem solved. I don't know why you built this robot, this full-on robot butler with knuckles. Full of knuckles. Knuckles and like, okay. It's not like, I saw the back of the robot. And it's not, you remember action figures when you were a kid and how they were just sort of flat and the leg could just like perfectly go up and then down and then like perfectly up and then down. I don't know what the function is because once again, I'm not an engineer. I don't work in tech. I don't act like I'm smarter than any of these people. All right. All these people came together, made this robot. Look, you can make a robot. I can't make a robot. But turned around, this robot is like, it's not at a BBL level, but like this robot is like fully caked up. Like it has cheeks. It has cheeks that are like visible, but like that's just the robot. You know what I mean? Like it's not like it has cheeks and it's like wearing clothes. Like it's just the robot, which means y'all made the cheeks. Somebody made cheeks. That doesn't feel wild to anybody else that somebody made cheeks specifically. And then when they build a product like this, when you have a robot, when it's time to you building a robot, right? Everybody's got to have something to do. Because you want to do everything, right? You want to walk, and you want to not fall over or bump into walls. Okay, get the kicking guy. Kicking guy is going to make sure that your robot doesn't just fall over. He's going to kick it 10,000 times. Really make a friend. And then you're going to need somebody on head duty to make sure it like is going forward, not drooping, whatever. You got to get somebody on neck, make sure it turns around and stuff. It just makes me wonder if this robot make me wonder if there was just somebody that they didn't trust with the math. They didn't trust with the math, so that they were like, hey, we'll let you design whatever part you want. And he got all excited and he came in on Monday. And he's like, I got perfect right here. And I guess nobody wanted to hurt his feelings. Over there in the boardroom talking about, I guess it's padding technically if it ever does fall, like in a disaster. And so then they sent this prototype out. with like a real butt. Rest of it does not look real at all, by the way. This is crazy. This is crazy because then they have the person, whenever they do a product rollout, they do like a Q&A, or they do a test in front of an audience, or if it's like a pre-tape thing, they'll have somebody there asking questions that obviously the public would ask. And and so this person's asking questions like, how strong is it? And it's like, oh, it's very strong. It has all of this like power per square inch, however they measure it, right? And they gave it like, I don't know, was it a chestnut or a walnut or something like that? But they were like, can you go ahead and break this? Because, you know, once again, if you ever watch a sci-fi movie, that should be dust immediately. That should be, the robot should be able to be like, you know? And so they, you know, went ahead and gave the robot this nut to break. And the robot was like, and I didn't see it break it. I was like, all right, that actually puts me at a little bit of ease. Like, genuinely, it does. It's like, okay, you know, I thought for it to have fingers, it has palms, it has fingers, knuckles. It's nice to know that if the robot tried to punch you, it's going to be like, you know what I mean? Like, it's kind of nice to know this robot can only kill you if you already dying. Do you know what I mean? Like, it could squeeze a pillow just enough. Because to a certain degree, this is supposed to be the future, right? The future is supposed to be as convenient as possible. Absolute convenience, so you get your time back, and so your life won't be as hard. Here's the thing, though. Like, I'm going to stay on this thing probably for years, because products like this keep coming out. This is my thing. If you've ever met somebody who's had a very easy life, very convenient life, that has never really been through anything, has never had like an obstacle in their way, they almost always, without a doubt, suck. Like really bad. Like these are the worst people in the world. Like, when you meet them, you're like, that's terrible. That's terrible. And you find out because you're always there when the first thing that has ever happened to them happens to them. The first time anything has ever happened to them, it happens in front of you. And then you're like, all right, well, let's figure it out, because you've been through things. This doesn't even register for you. This is like a 5 for them on the Richter scale of an earthquake, and their life is over. You know what I mean? They got a flat tire. And life is over. They're not in the city right now, and they have a flat tire. What should they do? I guess they have to die here. See, they'd never really been through anything. And anything that almost happened to them, they got to ask their parents to take care of it, and their parents took care of it. Or they just played dumb until somebody else did something about it. And now, in this moment, what a terrible career-ending day. You got a flat tire. What are you going to do? What's the plan here? And they panic. They want to call their parents to do something about it, but their parents are... Yeah, I mean, their parents are... Like, you know... They want to call their parents, but they can't because their parents are vacationing in Greece. And so it's like... They might not even have service on the boat. Like, it's just... What am I going to do? Never been through anything in their entire life. What am I going to do? They look to you. And they're like, this has never happened before. This is the worst thing that's ever happened. We're on our way to vacation. We catch a flat tire. What are we going to do? And you're like, oh, do you have a spare? And you hear them say, is that what that is back there? I knew it came with the car, but I expected it to just turn on one day or something. This has been back there not being a wheel this entire time. You know, and if they didn't have you there, I don't know what they would do. And so we want these lives of convenience. We want these lives where everything is out of our way, where nothing that we don't want to do takes up any time. But then what kind of person does that make you? I'm not saying it's fun to do all your chores or wait in line, but it is a human experience. This is your life, you know? Sometimes there are things that genuinely suck. I've been at the airport before for 36 hours. There was one time I was at the airport and I couldn't get out, and then here's the thing, if I decided to live there, I could have left. But I have been kept on such a Ferris wheel of mistakes, canceled flights, delayed flights, and just general annoying small tragedies that I just ended up staying in the airport. I almost slept at that airport twice, right? But at the same time, I had a lot of good experiences, even in that time, even when I was waiting. Turns out that airport did have pretty good food, so I ate very well for the few meals I could muster. Already a bathroom there. I can get adventurous. I'm just saying, sometimes people at airports will sell you like tiny spicy chicken or something like that, and you're like, all right, I'll just have it, not realize it, like, it is spicy, and there is a bathroom on the plane, but like, traveling spicy hit different, you know what I mean? Like, it just, if you traveling spicy, it's doing something to your life you're not ready for. There's nothing like being in a car and you traveling spicy. And now you looking at exits. Every exit, you're like... No, you know when you traveling spicy, you gotta breathe it out. No, traveling spicy is very dangerous. I was able to do it. But that's the thing, is it, when things are happening that are inconvenient or even terrible, and they're happening, they're part of your life. You can either just hate your life, or you could be like, this is my life for a little while. No? Anyone who always wants, this is going to sound harsh, but just hear me out. Because I have friends who every single inconvenience, they just want to be over already. And I'm like, okay, but if you tried to speed run every single thing that ever happened that was not convenient, do you know how little life you would have? Your life would be over so quickly. Your life would be over if you were like, oh, I just want to get out of this conversation. I just want to get out of this. I just want to get out of this line. I just want to get out of this airport. I just want to see. And you're missing your entire life. You know? Oh, I just want to get out of this conversation. What if they about to say something dope? You know what I mean? What if they're about to say something very cool? What if they're about to say, wow, you're such a good listener. Almost nobody listens to my stories. You want to chill at my vacation house? What if that was just about to happen? And now you can cut the thing short just because they were going on and on about whales. This is your life, you know? All of it is precious, even the inconvenient parts. Because that's the thing. That's all they can really sell you. They can sell you a little less inconvenience. They can't sell you ending your pain. They cannot sell you ending your loneliness. All of the things that matter, all the real things that are real struggles that people go through that actually end up making them very interesting people that you would want to get to know and spend time with. None of these tech people can cure that anyway. So then they're trying to sell you the little bit of convenience that maybe will make you feel like, oh, if I got all this time back, what does time back even mean? What does time back really mean? If you were at your home washing dishes, maybe, look, nobody likes washing dishes. I don't know if anybody likes washing dishes. It's old food. It's kind of nasty. You're like, what did I even have? What did I eat that sticks to the bowl like this? Because whatever that is in me. Is it sticking to me the way it's sticking to the bowl? That's crazy. I don't know if I'll ever get rid of this. If I can't get rid of the stain, then, ooh, my insides are stained right now. Sure. But I think it is such an important practice to appreciate all of these moments in your life. So often, we're trying to be distracted from the thing that if we focused on, we might enjoy. Because I'm not saying all of a sudden you'll love washing the dishes, but I think while you're washing the dishes and while you're sitting there thinking, maybe thinking about your day, maybe thinking about nothing, maybe thinking about the dishes, you could come potentially to an appreciation of the fact that you have a home. You have a home where you can cook your meals. You have dishes. You have dishes that you can use to serve your family, food that you worked for, that maybe something good can come of it, you know? Because this robot, I don't know. It's so expensive. It's so crazy expensive. Like it's so much money. Why don't you just hire a person? You could hire a person. If you have robot money and you've never seen any sci-fi, still hire a person. You could watch movies with your butler. You could make that one of the jobs. I need you to do windows, floors, and hang out. Like I do need a friend. I've been very lonely. It's incredibly important to not take for granted all those things that even though they're inconvenient, they're a part of your life, you know? I've made friends doing things I didn't want to do. Like there were moments where I was like, oh, this thing is taking up my time. Or maybe I'm delayed. You know, sometimes you get delayed, whether it's the train, it's the airport, you're waiting on a bus, you get delayed. And you don't want to be delayed. You want to get where you're going. That's why you want to go there. I understand. But everyone's delayed. It's the same problem everyone has. And everyone having the same problem is one of the fastest ways to build community. You know? Because now everybody's upset that you're delayed. And there's always that one person that isn't traveling with anyone. So they kick it off for everybody. Oh! I'm sure they seem upset. They seem upset. But I think they're having this outburst because they don't have anybody to turn to be like, can you believe? So then they turn to you. Can you believe? They turned to me and they were like, can you believe? And I was like, no, I do believe. Like, I don't think that Like, I don't think they would do it as a prank. Like, I do believe them when they say it's not here yet, because I also looked out the window and it's not here yet. And I don't think they like hide in it. You know what I mean? Like, it'd be a very bad prank to be like, we gonna tell them the flight not coming. You know how people love that, right? Like, that's one of my favorite things. I can't believe they didn't do that on Punk'd. I can't believe that Ashton Kutcher didn't delay a whole flight just so that people could be like, and then, no, it's fine. It's fine. It'll be okay. It'll be all right. And she was like, yeah, maybe if it gets here, it'll be all right. But it'll be all right. I was like, well, what is it? What's wrong? What's wrong? She's like, I have somewhere to be. I'm supposed to meet my grandbaby. I'm supposed to meet my grandbaby. All right. And immediately I had more empathy for where she was coming from, because she wasn't just upset the flight was delayed because she likes being a problem. She is a grandbaby to me. I've never had a grandbaby to meet, but I imagine if I did, I would be in a hurry. I have a grandbaby to me. I was like, oh, really? You have a grandbaby? How old? And she's like, she was born 3 days ago. I was like, wow. 3 days ago, okay. It does sound like you got plenty of time to get over there, because 3 is, you know what I mean? Like, I'm just saying, like, she knew, like that. Do you know what I mean? Like, she got a whole life ahead of her, and I think it'll be fine, you know. I was like, do you have any pictures? And she was like, oh, do I have pictures? And then she showed me pictures of her brand new grandbaby, and it was incredibly sweet. We just sat there at the gate. I didn't even mention to her that I had been at this airport for 32 hours. And she was showing me pictures of her grandbaby. It was incredible. I just think that a lot of things could be missed out on, you know, with this robot, because even the duties, even the stuff that it's supposed to do, that's stuff that would be great to do with your people. You want this thing to cook for you or whatever? Why don't you invite your friends over? You have a meal together. That's a memory. Now you're not like laying in front of the TV waiting for this robot to finish. A robot, by the way, that if it came down to some nuts in the dish, because even in the product rollout, they had this, I guess they had this journalist ask the questions we would ask. And so one of the questions was, well, how do I know, you know, you say this robot can lift whatever, like 150 pounds over its head. How do I know that it's not going to kill me in my sleep? If you're worried that your black robot is gonna kill you in your sleep, do you know? I'll tell you right now. I'm not a scientist. I'm not into tech like that. I'm not an engineer. I don't. The number one way to not have your black robot kill you in your sleep is to not have a black robot in your house at all.